Hi everybody! Okay, so I've been trying to make this video for a very long time and I keep getting interrupted. My parents, my dog, my sister coming in being like, who are you talking to? What are you talking about? Things like that. So hopefully, well, she probably won't interrupt me now because I'm about to also make a birthday video for my friend. I'm actually making confetti right now, so pardon me if I'm doing something at the same time. I'm not trying to be rude. Um, anyway, so this video is about magical preferences. So I guess the first thing I could talk about is my deities and the deities I like to invoke. For me, I like to perceive the sort of divine power in our world, the one, the all, the power, whatever you call it, um, as a goddess and god. It just seems to be the concept that I relate to the most. It really helps me connect better. And it really good for sort of seeing the balance in the world, I guess. But yeah, I like to invoke the general goddess and god rather than any specific deity. I believe that all deities are aspects of them, for one, and for another, I want to make sure I'm invoking the right deity. You know what I mean? You don't want to invoke someone you don't know anything about. You don't want surprises as to what type of energy is coming into your circle. And if I'm dedicating myself to one specific kind of energy, I want to make sure that it's something that's going to help me uh, um, grow spiritually, I guess. I mean, I just prefer to invoke the general goddess and God. That's my preference. Yeah, so sorry. I feel like I'm being really boring right now. Yeah, so my favorite crystal. My favorite crystal, well, I pretty much actually do have one favorite crystal. The others, I like most crystals that I've worked with and that I've heard of really, but this one is my absolute favorite, and it's carnelian. Mostly because it balances out that sort of shy, quiet, insecure part of myself. It dispels fear and anger and all those negative emotions, but also brings in confidence and communication, and friendship, and happiness. And I just really, really like it. It helps me make a better impression on people as well, so I'm always wearing it, especially if there's something important like an interview or something where I really need to make a good impression. It's also known for being a good stone for testing situations and good in the theater, so it's a really good stone for that, and it's definitely my absolute favorite. And I guess I could go on to talk about my favorite herbs, and most of the herbs are my favorite because of the smell. For example, the smell of cinnamon is really, really good. Absolutely love it. It's just that warm, homey, holiday season type smell. I really, really love cinnamon. It's really good for success and power. It adds a little bit of extra oomph to really any spell that you're doing. It's also an herb for love. It's an herb of the goddess Aphrodite. And it's also really good for psychic abilities as well. So yeah, I like to use cinnamon as much as I can. I also really like the smell of peppermint and the taste of peppermint. Mostly I use it in food more than magical purposes. The first sort of magical property I think of would be love for peppermint. And I know there are other properties that I remember it being a very well-rounded herb. I really use it more in food than anything else. Oh, that's really bad that I don't know its properties. Uh, anyway, another herb that I really like is sage. Sage is, and you've probably heard this before, is really, really good for cleansing and purifying. especially like your space before a circle. And I think when you're burning sage, the scent changes. It smells incredible. I love, love, love the smell of sage, but when you burn it, it really creates that mystical, magical atmosphere. So I like to use it in as many circles as I can, you know. And also, if you're doing like divination, it creates that sort of atmosphere, and so I like to use it for that as well. It's also really good for protection and security. Molly, what's the matter? What was that? No? What? I don't know what you're doing, you cute girl. So sage is good for cleansing and purifying, and also protection, security. It's also a good herb for love as well. What else? I really like the herb sandalwood too. I really love to use sandalwood. Um, it's another good herb for cleansing and purifying, and it's also really good for doing work well and focus. I really like to burn sandalwood incense when I'm studying because it really helps me focus on what I'm doing and remember things better. I'm not really sure how to describe it, but it does, and I really like to use sandalwood for stuff like that. This is pretty much it for my favorite herbs. What else? I guess I could talk about my circle and the preferences there. I like to cast pink circle. Pink for me is not just about friendship and love, but also communication, and it also makes me feel very secure, just that pink feeling, you know? So I really like to use it for my circle, and I find that it helps me connect better, you know, with dieting or whatever, than having a plain white circle or a blue circle or something like that. I also like to have little blue dots kind of floating around in a DSL motion as little extra protective dots around the circle to protect, to keep out negative energy basically, to deflect it. So yeah, that's how I like to have my circle. Let's see. In my circle, I definitely like to have something in each of the four corners, but I don't like to put candles or tools there. I know sometimes people will have like an incense, you know, in that border, a candle for fire, maybe a glass of water or whatever, and some stones for earth. For me, I like to have these things actually like on my altar so I can reach them and so I can have them right in front of me. So on the outside of the circle, I will either use little pieces of paper. I've got a pink triangle, a blue heart, a green square, and a yellow circle for each of the elements, and it works, you know. It represents each of the elements for me, and I keep those in the corner of my circle. The other thing I will do is use stones, and stones are really, really good because they have such a strong energy to themselves that go with each of the elements that it really sort of enhances the circle, I think, to use stones in the quarter. So that's another thing that I really like to do. I prefer to face the north in my circle. To me, north is the direction of earth. So, and it's kind of like, you know, the place from which all things come and things like that. So I really like to face the north. I like to have air in the east, fire in the south, and water in the west. And a lot of people have different preferences when it comes to this, depending on geographical location, and also just depending on what you feel is best for you. It could be a million different factors that decide that, but I like the sort of traditional thing. It just seems to work best for me. But anyway, and I also like to be in the center when I'm working the ritual most of the time. I like to have the altar near the center, but not directly on the center so that I can stand in the center as well, you know what I mean? I want the center area to be me and my altar. rather than just my altar, if you know what I mean. And I don't want to stand in the center and then have to put my altar to the north to compensate for that. I like to have it happen everything in the center, if that makes any sense at all. So yeah, how much time? We still got some time left. What else could I talk about? I guess I could talk about my favorite type of magic to do. My favorite type of magic, I think it definitely would be talismans, charms, anything that you kind of hold in your body to bring a certain energy. It's the easiest form of magic, I think. You basically just direct a certain type of energy into an object, whether it be a statue of herbs or a pendant or any object really, and then you carry it on yourself to attract certain things to you or to protect you or something like that. It's not really good for banishing magic, but for other forms of magic, it's really, really good, and I find it to be quite easy. And I find that this type of magic has more of a psychological effect than a lot of others, because when you're carrying something on you that represents love, you're filled with this feeling of love all day, and so then you begin to project that onto other people, and then receive love back to you simply psychologically, without all of the sort of astral kind of energies that are going on, you know? Just because the object reminds you of that feeling, and so you're feeling that feeling all day long by wearing it on you, even when it's not working. Now, hopefully, you've done your magic in a way so that it will work, but if you haven't, it seems to work psychologically as well. Although I suppose I can't really tell you what has happened for me, because either way, it feels like it's working. You know what I mean? Okay, so yeah, that probably didn't make any sense. But anyway, the point is that it's not the type of magic that's going to ever let you down, because it has such a strong psychological effect as well as magical effect. That's what I'm trying to say. So I really like that type of magic. What else? What else can I say? I'm not really sure. I really whizzed through that really, really quickly. How about what I like to wear? Personally for me, it really depends. Normally on a cold night, I will prefer to wear something simple because it's cold, I'll find a lot of times though when you're casting a circle and you're raising energy in it, a lot of times it will actually heat up in the circle, which is something to take into account. But again, if it's really cold, I'll wear some. If I'm alone and I'm inside, I think I will usually work sky cloud. And, I feel differently depending on which ritual it is. I remember one time I was about to do a meditation on the moon, and I went to lay down, and all of a sudden, I just felt so restricted by my clothing. It was the weirdest feeling. Like, it's not something that I expected, and it's not something that you would expect to be overly restrictive. I just felt like, how can I feel the energies with all this stuff all over me? You know what I mean? It's the weirdest feeling, and this has actually happened recently. I think maybe having tried working sky clad before, sort of trying it out, it got to the point where I realized that it did seem to be more freeing than to be wearing clothes, And there's something too, when you're really close to a coven and you're working sky clad, I could imagine that it makes everyone in the coven get really, really close, and increases your connection with them and allows you to feel free, because there's nothing to hide anymore. You've taken off your clothes. What else can you reveal? You know what I mean? I've never actually worked in a coven before. I have done rituals with other people, but never in a coven setting. But anyway, for time. Alright, well, it's getting near the end, and I guess I've covered everything I wanted to say, so I hope you enjoyed, and I hope maybe I've given you some ideas, maybe? So yeah, I'll try to talk to you very soon, and blessed be.